Welcome back to the pantry. After 3 months of eating from our pantry, freezer, and long-term food storage, our quarantine food storage challenge is coming to an end. Today I'm sharing some of what we learned. Hopefully something will be helpful to you as you plan to be more prepared with your own food. First, we'll cover 3 reasons why we decided to end our open-ended challenge right now. Then I'll go over lessons we learned and what we plan to do about it. For those of you who look forward to these updates, this won't be the end of talking about food storage. In the coming weeks, I'll take the focus off my food storage and start talking about your food storage. How to get started, what to store, how much to store, how to keep track, and how to use it. So if that's something that's interesting to you, I hope you'll subscribe and stick around. Be sure to let me know what you're most interested in learning about down in the comments so I can be sure to cover it. As I started reading through hundreds of responses in the 2020 Six Figures Under Reader Survey, I see that many of you are interested in building up your own food storage and would like some guidance. If you haven't shared your thoughts, I would really love it if you would take a couple minutes to complete the survey. I'll leave the link below. Okay, why are we ending our food storage challenge right now? Well, when we started the challenge, we weren't sure how long it would last. I know some of you will be surprised or disappointed that we're ending it now, and I wanted to explain why we decided to go back to grocery shopping. Essentially, it's because we accomplished what we set out to do. Let me break that down into some specifics. The primary reason we started the challenge was to keep ourselves and others safe by not going to the grocery store during the pandemic. At the outset of this, there wasn't a full understanding of how this novel coronavirus was transmitted. Now that we have a better understanding, we feel like occasional trips to the grocery store are generally safe. Thankfully, the outbreak in our area hasn't been too terrible. The secondary reason for undertaking a food storage challenge was to give our food storage a test drive. While we've had food stored for years, we really didn't have a grasp of how much we would really need and what things we would wish we had more of. We figured a lot of those details out as we've monitored what we've used during the last 3 months of this challenge of not grocery shopping. Now we have a better idea of how much we should store for our family. The third reason for ending our food storage challenge now, rather than continuing the challenge indefinitely, is so we can make the effort to restock and update our food storage. The future is uncertain in many ways, including potential continued disruptions in the food supply chain, so while we have the ability to stock up, we want to do so. You'll see us implementing these changes to our food storage in the near future. Okay, what we've learned from our food storage challenge. First of all, how much food storage our family actually needs. As I've learned about food storage from a scholarly perspective, I learned how many pounds of this or that you need per person for a certain length of time, but I had no idea how that would really play out in our lives. The suggested amount of 150 pounds of wheat per person age 8 and over for a year's supply doesn't come with a menu or even a recipe book. So I had no idea if this was going to be a low ball or high ball estimate. I wasn't sure if that was a keep us alive amount or a life as usual amount. That's about 12.5 pounds per person per month. Our family has 5 people that are over the age of 8 and 2 people under age 8. I'm not going to include the baby in this count. With that estimate, we would use about 75 pounds of wheat in a month. I'd have to say that that estimate is nearly spot on. We ate about 80 pounds of wheat per month during our challenge. Essentially, that was just what we used for bread, pancakes, waffles, and other baked goods. I'm still working on recording everything in our spreadsheet so we can calculate our family's consumption rate and create a customized food storage plan just for us. Okay, what surprised us? If you followed along with our weekly updates during the challenge, you may remember that in the beginning I was having a little panic attack about some essentials that I thought we were low on, like yeast, baking soda, baking powder, cocoa, salt, and oil. It's understandable because in the beginning we had no idea how long the quarantine lockdown phase would last and what shortages there would be. We didn't know how long we would choose to continue our challenge or if at some point it would no longer be our choice. Either way, I wanted to be prepared, so I purchased some of these staples online. As it turns out, I haven't opened the 5-pound bag of yeast. It's in our deep freeze now. We've used about 1.5 pounds of yeast in the past 3 months. That's partly due to reducing the yeast in all of our recipes by half, which hasn't been a problem. We just let it rise a little longer and it's perfectly fine. We also haven't had to open the 5-pound bags of baking soda or baking powder. Of the 4 gallons of extra oil that I bought at the beginning of the challenge, knowing that oil is essential for all of the baking that we would be doing, I went ahead and bought 4 extra gallons of oil at the beginning of the challenge. Well, I still have 3 left. Okay, what we need to stock more of. We're probably good on wheat, powdered milk, beans, and applesauce, but there are some areas where our food storage is lacking. We'll use a 1-year supply as a measuring stick because that's how many food storage recommendations are made. Feel free to divide it by 4 if you want to build a 3-month supply, or divide it by 2 if you're doing a 6-month supply. Okay, we'll start with salt. Salt is such a simple ingredient, but it's essential. It's literally the cheapest food storage item out there, and we didn't have enough stored. In fact, we were nearly out. Right at the beginning of the challenge, I bought a few packages of salt from Walmart. Otherwise, we would have been completely out. That's embarrassing. For a year's supply, it's recommended that you store 8 pounds per person. That's a little bit more than 4 of these regular containers per person. Oil. We use just under a gallon of oil per month. That means we would need roughly 12 of these gallons for a year's supply. This is one of those things that you just don't buy and tuck away for a disaster. It's important to rotate through your stored oil or it will eventually go rancid. Sugar! It's recommended to store 60 pounds of sugar in some form per person for a year's supply. We don't have anywhere near that, so this is definitely an area for us to work on going forward. Oats. Oats are a major staple for us, but we haven't stocked up for a while, so we were low when we started the challenge. My mother-in-law gave us a 25-pound bag of oats that she had on hand, which is what we're currently eating. Rice. We didn't run out of rice, but we're low, and we didn't have anywhere near what we would need for a year's supply. Pasta. We generally eat a lot of pasta. It's fast and easy, and everyone likes it. We had quite a bit on hand at the beginning of the challenge, but we would run out pretty soon if we kept this up. Of course, with an abundance of wheat and eggs, we could decide to make our own pasta, but while that would be delicious, it would no longer be fast and easy. Peanut butter. We typically buy peanut butter for about 2 months at a time, but we definitely need to store more. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are a staple in this house. As long as we rotate through what we have, there won't be a problem with any spoilage or waste. Jam and jelly. As an important ingredient in PBJs, we need to store more jam. In the past, we've had easy access to free blackberries, so we've made loads of our own jam. It's been a while since we've made jam in large quantities, so we've been buying it lately. We have both blackberries and raspberries growing on our property now, so hopefully we can get back into making our own jam. And cocoa powder. We have around 10 pounds of cocoa powder, but we need more for a long-term supply. And yes, cocoa powder is an essential storage ingredient for our family. Okay, now what we want to stock more on. The others were needs, these are more wants. Cheese. Over the next few months, we're planning to store more cheese. We'll keep a reserve in the freezer and rotate through it. By no means will it be a year's supply, but if we need to live strictly off our food storage again, we can just ration it. During this challenge, we stretched about 5 pounds of cheese to last for 2.5 months, which for a family like ours who has serious cheese habits, this is pretty impressive. Butter. Butter is our fat of choice when it comes to baking and cooking, but throughout this challenge we had to rely on alternatives like canola oil or shortening because we only had 5 pounds of butter in the freezer at the outset of this challenge. We actually still have a pound of butter left in the freezer because we were being careful to ration it. Like I said, we didn't know how long we were going to do this whole challenge for. But like cheese, this is something we want to store more of in the freezer. Raisins. We eat a lot of oatmeal and cream of wheat and other hot breakfast cereals, and raisins are a favorite add-in. We should definitely store more of them. Salsa. We're fortunate to have hens that keep us well stocked in eggs, at least during the warm months. We love having salsa to put on our fried eggs. It makes it a little more exciting. And chocolate chips, for baking and for mom snacks when there's nothing else sweet around. This obviously doesn't include the normal everyday staples that we'll be buying when we go back to the store next week, like milk, sour cream, tortillas, meat like chicken, ground beef, and pork if it's not crazy expensive and if it's available, lettuce, tomatoes, potatoes, celery, carrots, strawberries, apples, bananas, and other fresh produce. I'm pretty excited. Okay, let's talk about some of the other things we learned during our food storage challenge. Understanding the practical implications of eating from our food storage has been really valuable and will help us so much going forward. But a clearer picture of how long our food storage will actually last isn't the only good thing that came from this challenge. Here are a few of the other things we learned or relearned. Eat leftovers so nothing is wasted. We've always been pretty good about eating leftovers and not letting anything go to waste, but during this challenge, we were especially conscious of not wasting food. Our food supply felt more finite than it normally does since we're not shopping to replenish it. That made us more aware of not wasting any food. Next, don't overeat just because something tastes good. Another way to waste food is to overeat. We don't usually think of overeating as wasting food, but that's really what it is. Mike and I were careful to stop eating when we were full, instead of continuing to eat just because something was delicious. Okay, next, we've tried a lot of new things. We took advantage of the extra time during quarantine to experiment and try making and eating new things. A lot of you thought it was funny that I had never made split pea soup before, or even tried it. Well, now we've had it several times and I really like it. We've made tortillas from scratch, we've learned a few ways to make cheese, and now that the older kids can make bread by themselves, we've been enjoying delicious homemade bread even though I haven't made any for the last month. Okay, that was a lot. Thanks for sticking with me. Like I said, next week I'll take the focus off my food storage and start talking about your food storage. I'm excited to help you get started or improve on your food storage situation. Let me know if there's anything specific you want me to make sure to cover. And we'll see you next time.